Schmidt, better known as Unstoppable Tracy. If you're just joining the Today Show now on the Disability Channel, Bell 5, you may have noticed I have a super famous, extraordinary dignitary with us today, the former Lieutenant Governor, David C. Onley. You may know him from City TV days. Most of us know him now, most recently, for his 7 years of Lieutenant Governor of Ontario. And he's still a huge, massive, impacting public influencer in the world of Ontario for many reasons, not just in the world of people with disabilities and seniors, but that's certainly how many of us know him best. So welcome back, David. Thank you for being on the show today.
Thank you.
David, did anything come to mind when I was doing your introductions about your 7 years that you'd like to share with us in your role as Lieutenant Governor of Ontario?
Yes, actually, I thought about it during the break as well. And I came into office in my installation address in September of 2007, talking about disability and talking about accessibility and how during my term of office that I would be promoting it. Each lieutenant governor in the recent times, basically for the last 60 years or thereabouts, has had not only the responsibilities of being the Queen's representative, but doing advocacy for a particular project. And John Black-Aird, going back 40 plus years, was the first one to make what he called then, and what the term was correct, disability rights, as his focus during term of office, other than representing the Queen. And it moved through those time frames to the next Lieutenant Governor, Lincoln Alexander, the first Black Canadian to be a Lieutenant Governor and the first Black Canadian to be a cabinet minister on the federal level. And so he had the theme of racial rights, racial harmony for his 5 years in office. And, we moved forward into time, and Hillary Weston was on volunteerism, and James Bartleman, my immediate predecessor, being partial Indigenous person, he had a lot of programs related to education for Indigenous students, where there were significant barriers to them to get the kind of education they needed then and need today.
Yeah.
So I felt no qualms at all of making accessibility the main theme of my term of office. So there were multiple events that I did related to that theme. And once different organizations were aware of that, then I started to get invitations to their events. And, so clearly that was my focus. What I remember, though, were a couple of events related to Her Majesty the Queen. First of all, each lieutenant governor in their first year of office typically go to Buckingham Palace and meet the Queen. And
really?
yes, that's part of the deal, if you will.
Oh.
So Ruth and I went over, and it was just a phenomenal experience. Exactly, just blow your mind. And so we went in, and there are many, many guests that she meets, and the people immediately preceding us were dignitaries from Germany, the new ambassador from Germany, who were presenting their credentials. And just before we went in, it was where we were seated was about 40 feet from the opening to her office. And one of the ladies in waiting came over and just sort of gave us a few housekeeping details.
Oh.
And then the aide-de-camp, who's a military person, introduced himself. And we're just waiting for the meeting to end from the ambassador. And he said, "Now, here's the procedure." And he just basically rattled off the steps. But before he was finished, the doors to the meeting room where the Queen was it opened up, and the ambassador and his assistant walked out. And then the Queen went back into the meeting room, and the doors were closed. And this aide de camp, I don't remember his last name, but his first name was Andy. And so as soon as the doors closed, Ruth and I just both looked over at him. I said to him, I said, "Excuse me, Andy, but we were looking at the Queen and the German ambassador, and I said, I'm sorry, but I don't remember a word you said. Could you please repeat it?" And he did. He laughed, like, because
Yeah,
I'm sure various people have told him that in the
yeah.
preceding years, or at the very least months. And so he went over the details. And he said, "Now, the main thing is don't begin speaking until Her Majesty speaks to you." And
Oh.
I thought, okay, that's pretty simple.
Mhm.
And so Ruth and I went through, and she was wearing a beautiful green dress, and some people may have seen that picture.
Oh,
And by the way, there's a camera person who goes click, click, and takes two pictures and then leaves the room.
oh,
And so now I'm, sitting there in my scooter, and I'm waiting for the Queen to speak. And Ruth notices the beautiful diamond maple leaf brooch that the Queen was wearing, and she
okay.
just immediately, quote unquote, broke protocol and said, "Oh, Your Majesty, what a beautiful brooch."
Oops.
Uh, I just kind of rolled my eyes and I thought, no, no, no. So anyway, Her Majesty just went with it and said, "Oh,
Yeah.
thank you very much." She said, "This was given
Oh,
to my mother during the royal tour of 1939." So it became obvious to me that she had pulled it out when she realized that her personal representative in the province of Ontario was
ah,
coming that day. And so she did. And we had this wonderful set of exchanges, conversation over the next 20 minutes. And then all of a sudden it was over.
oh,
And so we left, and we were just, floated out of the room on cloud
yeah.
nine. And then we were asked to stay for lunch with the royal household. And I
Oh,
thought, well, we'll be going to a cafeteria somewhere. But no,
yeah.
it was just, she was not there, but all of her aides. And it was just beautiful. The china, the lights, and the tables were set. It was like a
Oh.
most expensive restaurant you've ever been in your life. And so I just want to fast forward, because that was utterly memorable, of course. And that
Oh,
was to her visit when she came to Ontario, and she visited the Lieutenant Governor's suite, which had never happened with a sitting monarch.
oh,
And so I was to show her around the suite with a number of guests who truly, desperately wanted to be there.
oh,
And I'm
yeah.
on my scooter, and as you know, those things can go very quickly. So
Yeah.
I dialed down the speed to just a crawl,
Yeah.
and as
To
I was
turtle.
yeah, the turtle, and as I was rolling it forward, I was introducing Her Majesty to a number of different people. But what was going on in my mind was, don't hit the Queen, don't hit the Queen.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I just
No
thought,
quicker.
don't lose control.
Yeah.
So anyway, I didn't hit the Queen, and
Thank
we went
goodness.
through, and that was that. So those,
Oh,
definitely, those events were the two major events that I remember.
wow. Wow. Oh my gosh, David, we could do a whole other show. I can't believe that our time
Well,
is coming to a close.
yes. Well, glad to come back.
Wow. Well, I'm going to take you up on that, David.
Okay,
That's so thoughtful of you.
very
But
good.
I know that I would be remiss, even though I'm running a little over with the
Okay.
show. But you have so many things that you are being a voice for, from
Yeah.
3 years old about your train set.
Yes.
Now with influence, you're not taking that lightly, and no one would judge you. No one would think that there was an excuse if you decided to dial things back after having a tumor the size of an orange removed from your brain.
Yeah.
But in fact, your voice as present and advocating as ever, and in some ways even a bigger difference because you
It
can be
is.
even more transparent. uh,
Yes.
and so, is there, what would you like to close out with, or shout out with, or share with our listeners? Because I don't want to, I promised you that opportunity, and I've been so busy regaling about the past that we
Yes.
haven't talked about today or the future.
Yes. Well, I would say that whatever your situation, if you have a person with a disability in your family, or if you yourself has a disability, to use your voice wherever you are. And my situation, having been on television and then as lieutenant governor, has put me in a unique set of opportunities that most people, frankly, don't get.
No.
But you just, talk and advocate where you're planted. You've done that in a unique way over the years and have overcome your adversity as I've overcome mine. That doesn't mean that we don't have bad days. We do have bad days, and
Yeah.
people that I know with disabilities have bad days, but mostly have good days.
Yes.
And use your opportunities wherever you are and help make a difference. And we're in a strange time where, there's an election on right now in Ontario. There'll be a federal election, and use your opportunities there to speak out. Join different organizations, that are advocating for people with disabilities. Don't sit back. Don't wait. Speak out and use the internet. Use Twitter. Some of the best comments that I've received that I have then quoted in speeches that I've given or have used in the class that I teach on the politics of disability at the U of T Scarborough.
Currently,
Um, yeah, it comes from places like that. It comes from LinkedIn. It comes from Twitter. It comes from all the different social media platforms. And so use them. Just use them as the best you possibly can. It'll
well,
make a difference.
it does. It does. It was your recent advocacy that had me reach out and say, "Will you be on the show?"
Yes, yes,
And and I had no idea if he would say yes, even though we have this,
yeah,
other connection lifelong. You have hundreds of thousands of connections of people that feel close to you, and yet, you know so many because of your life.
yes,
So
indeed.
thank you for saying yes.
You're very, very welcome. I look forward to talking with you again.
Yes, and you have an open invitation if you
Okay,
ever need a platform to
thank you.
please say, Tracy, I have a new mission. I need to be on the show.
Okay, I'll take
I
you
will
up on it.
always invite you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And we're very grateful. Please find David on LinkedIn, find David on Twitter, find him on Facebook, and like his message, share his chat
Thank you.
messages, comment on his messages so that we expand the reach. And also, he's been a speaker since 3 years old. And he has now got a little bit more experience under his belt,
Just
even
a
with
little
the
bit.
green. So hire him, bring him to your platforms so
Thank
that
you.
he can blow our minds today, and he will blow the minds of your audiences in the future. And where's the best place people can find you, David? Where do you want to drive people to find you and reach you?
Well, to find me, the easiest thing, not taking much more time, but is my email address at the University of Toronto. I'll just repeat it now, but you can just Google my address or go to David Onley at Twitter or um, Facebook. I'm there on both platforms. And but the email address is the quickest one, david.onley at utoronto.ca. But you can look that up on University of Toronto Scarborough website and just go from there.
And we'll also publicize that here on the Disability Channel, on our website, on YouTube, on Bell 5, and running across the screen.
Okay, thanks very much.
Thank you, David. Thank you, listeners, for this extraordinary show. I feel starstruck, and I'm so glad I got to share that with all of you listening on the Today Show here in Toronto, on the Disability Channel, on Bell 5, and lots of social platforms. Please reach out to the Disability Channel, showcasing abilities with the Honorable former Lieutenant Governor of Ontario, David C. Onley. Many positive thoughts your way.
Thank you.